Hello everyone, this is good old Tobias from Test Results IO. And as you might know, I'm on my path to becoming the test automation master. And for that, I do have to solve all of the obstacles of the obstacle course from Tricentis. Naturally, I'm not solving those problems and obstacles with Tricentis Tosca, but I'm doing it with a more modern tool, Test Results IO, which is combining functional and visual testing in one approach. And I want to show you actually how easy it is to solve all of those problems. If you look at my past videos as well, you might wondering why I'm always wearing a white shirt. It's pretty simple because I did all of the solutions on the same day. It's just a joke, you know that. It's just because the color white is extremely nice color. So for today, if you keep tracks of all of the statistics, we are on row number 3, so that's the third challenge we are going to solve. It is the challenge with number 64161. The name is not a table. The category is apparently hard. There were 16,700 people that tried to solve the problem, and only 2,406 were successful in that. Actually, they completed it. I don't know if that means successful, but they completed it. So the success rate is 14.3%, and the average time is 11 minutes 52 seconds for those 2,400 people. The other 14,000, nothing is recorded, so we don't know how long it took them to give up. But I guess we want to challenge the 11 minutes 52 seconds today. As you know me, we go for it once and we do it manually first before we understand how it works. And after that, we do the automation in test results IO. So let's get rid of me while we are looking at that screen, while we go through it manually. And afterwards, I'll get back and show you test results IO and how to do that in test results IO. So we are on obstacle 64161. The countdown is running and the challenge is actually hard. So be afraid, be a bit afraid because it's hard. Let's assume your application on the test generates an offer ID every time you click the according button. Okay, that doesn't sound that hard. Unfortunately, now it gets harder. Unfortunately, it gets added to the table randomly. Getting nervous already, see. It's a bit strange behavior for normal application, but let's just assume, okay, we accept that there is a table where something gets added at random positions. So we need to find a way to automate a stable test step. We highlight that, it should be stable. That first clicks the button, easy. Second, buffers the generated offer ID. Okay, sounds more difficult. Third, enters it into the edit box. I assume this one. The test steps need to run every time. Yeah, that's what we assume from a test automation, isn't it? That we can run the steps every time, otherwise we would do it manually. Nevertheless, so let's do it manually. We want to be successful. Click the button once. I did. Okay, so buffers the generated offer ID. As you might have noticed, there was a row added here, which is actually not the offer ID, but the order ID. So if we click on generate order ID, which makes sense, it generates an order ID. And you can see it appears on pseudo-random locations in the table here. Okay, we pretend the offer ID refers to order ID and then enters it into the edit text box. So we highlight that and we cannot highlight it apparently, but we need to enter it 104775. And we did a good job. Let's try again. So if I do it manually, it took me 2 minutes 10 seconds, but okay, I was reading all of the text and explaining to you the differences of that, if it's offer ID and order ID. But I think you've seen the challenge. Perhaps you get me back. I'm still not sweating, but we go over to test results IO. You can see that I do have full access to a browser over here. And by the way, that is not a browser that I'm hosting on my PC. That is a browser that is on a different PC that I'm connected to and that I can interact with from remote. Yeah, and I guess let's go into the automation rather straight and prepare your clocks so that you can actually measure the amount of time that it takes us to automate that challenge. It didn't look that hard, to be honest, while going through it manually, but let's give it a try. So let's get rid of me, if we can get rid of me, and then we go for the automation challenge. And apparently it's so hard it's opening on a new tab. Never did that beforehand, but Okay, it wants to test us apparently. So, as you know, test results say we want to make sure that we verify every interaction with the system, and we also want to make sure that we are on the right screen before we start the test automation of the single step. And therefore, we need to have a screen name and need to identify something that is uniquely for that screen. And I think the challenge, the obstacle ID, is unique enough. Then we add a single button, which is the generate order ID button. That's the one that we need to click. I just call it generate ID so that I'm not in conflict with the offer or order ID that it generates. And we save that, and that is generating the visual cues in the background. The next thing I'm going to add is the text box over here. So we call that enter value here, text box. Everything else is too long for me. And yeah, let's just do that. We save it. The visual cues are generated. And now for the next step, I need to interact with the system because I need to generate the order ID. As you can see, it appeared somewhere and it's blinking. Okay, so it's here. We do it a few more times. It doesn't get better. It's at a random position. That's a given. So what we need to do is actually we need to identify the order ID and get the value on the right side. So as a human, I would just say like, okay, there's this label order ID and I need to get the value. And that's exactly what we do for the automation. So we get the order ID, and I want to show you a cool little feature. You can zoom in here and see that I did everything right. I captured the order ID, and I can zoom out again and say that is my label with value, and I call it the order ID. The value is right to the order ID. I can see that on the screen. And yeah, that is the image I want to take for the visual cues. The visual cues are again generated in the background, and I need to confirm that and generate the screen in the background. So let's go back to full screen. And let's go to the test case itself so that we can write the test case. So the first thing we need to do, just to remember that, is to click the button to generate the order ID. So with IntelliSense, that's no problem. We do have an obstacle screen. We do have a generate ID button. We click on the button, and if we click on the button, we do expect that the ID is appearing on the screen. So we want to take that for verification. So we want to make sure that the order ID appeared so that we correctly click the button. This is also on the obstacle screen. It's the order ID, and you can see that I can just type it in with IntelliSense, and we do a wait for appear on that one. So that's the first step, press the button. The second one was read the value. So what we do here is we say on the obstacle screen, the order ID, we read the value. And we remember the text which says like we need to buffer it. We do buffer it. We buffer it in what we call a variable. And the last part that we do is now that we enter it into the field where I said like enter value here, and we enter the order ID. So that's it. That is 3 rows of text. Yeah, and let's run it, I would say, and see if the automation is going through or not. Again, that's the test system over here. We are going to run against this system. Yeah, we press play, and the system compiles the code in the background, and it's executing. And then let's see if it works out. And success. That is how it should be. So that is how you automate the stuff. And let's look at, let me try again. And it took us 5 minutes. I would have said it was 5 minutes 51, but it was completed in 5 minutes 40 seconds. Compare that to the average of 11 minutes 52. Oh, this case was finished. 11 minutes 52. Yeah, quite impressive, isn't it? And those 11 minutes 52 is just for those 2,400 people that actually succeeded. And we did it just for reference, and we did it in, where is the window? We did it in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. That is less than half of the time. Again, thank you very much for watching this video, and hope I have you back on the next series. And if the list doesn't change, actually, but you never know. If the list doesn't change, the next one will be a medium challenge or obstacle, as they call it, which is named 2 times. Looking forward to see you in this episode as well, and have a good day. Bye.